Welcome to today's custom deep dive. We've got a really compelling 2025 systematic literature review to look at today.
Yeah, fresh from the journal Planning Malaysia, it is incredibly timely.
Exactly. And our mission today is to uncover how the invisible web of human relationships, which is known as social capital, how that actually shapes a city's sense of place.
Right, and we are looking specifically at what this means for the future of urban planning and policymaking right there in Malaysia.
Okay, let's unpack this. The core problem the researchers highlight is that rapid, sort of unregulated development is just, well, it's steamrolling the unique character of our cities.
It really is. We are actively replacing distinct neighborhoods with standardized concrete,
Yeah.
and that loss of a sense of place is becoming a measurable crisis in urban planning.
So to combat that loss, the researchers argue urban planners have to intentionally generate social capital.
But they don't just use any standard definition for that. They specifically pull from sociologist Pierre Bourdieu's 1986 framework.
Right, because Bourdieu looks at social capital a bit differently than other theorists. If he says it isn't just a static headcount of how many neighbors you wave to, what's the hidden driver here?
What's fascinating here is that Bourdieu treats social capital as highly dynamic. It expands or contracts based on your economic capital, but actually, more importantly, your cultural capital.
Or cultural capital, so meaning shared habits, languages.
The unspoken social rules of your community, exactly. Your social ties depend heavily on all of that.
So what does this all mean for you and for Malaysian policymakers? Well, the review reveals a pretty glaring blind spot.
A massive one, yeah.
Out of the 9 recent global studies they analyzed, not a single one applied Bourdieu's framework to Malaysia's urban areas.
Which is just, that gap is enormous when you factor in the sheer demographics of Malaysia.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the study cites the 2010 census data showing populations living side by side. You've got 55.1% Malay,
Right.
24.3% Chinese, and 7.4% Indian.
When you have that kind of rich, multiracial density, cultural capital isn't just a background detail.
It's a highly complex puzzle for how a neighborhood forms any kind of shared bond.
And that brings us directly to the policy implications for the streets you walk every day. Because pouring concrete isn't just about infrastructure. It is literally hardwiring the social life of a neighborhood.
So an urban planner is actually engineering social ties based on, well, based on where they place a sidewalk or a crosswalk?
Spot on. The data shows that specific urban planning elements bridge those cultural gaps. Things like walkability, how streets connect.
Where you place everyday facilities too, right?
Yeah.
Like mosques, schools, grocery stores.
Yes, a well-placed local market or park acts as the physical infrastructure people need to navigate their differences and build that cultural and social capital together.
It really makes you look at a shared community center in a totally new light. The city itself is the mediator.
It is.
If policymakers get the spatial layout right, they're giving these diverse communities the physical tools to naturally interact.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the ultimate mandate for Malaysian urban policy becomes unavoidable. Designing for social capital isn't a luxury.
No, it's not an afterthought.
It's required. It's how you build a community-based resilience shield. A tightly knit community that can actually watch out for each other when a disaster like a flood hits.
Or when facing broader threats like climate change and urban degradation.
Exactly.
It's reframing the entire job of a city planner. It isn't just zoning residential versus commercial. It's about designing physical spaces that foster human connection and maintain a city's soul.
It's a great reminder that our built environment shapes us just as much as we shape it.
But there is a massive lingering question for you to mull over. If physical proximity and shared cultural facilities are mandatory to build this sense of place,
Right.
how will future Malaysian policymakers need to design cities if communities begin building their social capital entirely in virtual spaces?
Instead of in their physical neighborhoods.
Yeah.
That is a fascinating pivot. If our neighborhoods are becoming digital, urban planners have an entirely new puzzle to solve.
They really do. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll catch you next time.